Yeah, good afternoon or good evening, depending from wherever you are joining this call. My name is Emmanuel Gona, and I'll be moderating today's session on Karura belongs to the people. So basically, we are going to talk about the Karura Forest, which was once a dumping ground and a haven for crime. But as we are speaking, it has transformed into one of Nairobi's most treasured green spaces through the tireless work of Friends of Karura Forest, that is FKF, the community members and partners such as the Green Belt movement. This transformation has provided ecological, social, cultural and economic benefits for millions of Kenyans. However, with the recent developments, including government directives that could sideline the FKF from forest management, has sparked public concern. While the matter is currently in court, there is need to hold a broad public dialogue that raises awareness on the importance of this community stewardship in conservation and why end decision-making process must include the local stakeholders. So basically, this express will serve as a storytelling platform where these grassroots voices, community leaders, conservationists and beneficiaries will be sharing their experiences of how Karura has shaped their lives by community-led management matters and how revenue collection and allocation must remain transparent and inclusive. So once again, thank you so much for joining this call. And as I will be moderating this, I'm joined by a good number of speakers today who are very conversant with this Karura issue. So we'll be having Francis in the panel, Francis Otieno, who is actually one of the beneficiaries who is with us today in this call. We also have Winnie. Now we have Winnie. Then we have Chege, we have Nyaguthi, and then we'll be having Professor. So I'll be calling them one by one, just to do a quick introduction. Then we pick it from there. Remember, you can always join this conversation by putting across your comments if you have any concerns, if you have any questions, and we'll be using the hashtag #SaveKarura. Later, I may allow some of us who will be interested in speaking through. I'll be giving you the mic. That is after we do a set of questions to the panelists. So, for the introduction purposes, allow me to start with John Chege. Kindly a brief introduction, then continue from there.
Thank you so much, and I may say that I am privileged to be in this panel today. I'm so grateful to be given this opportunity just to share more about how I know about the Karura Forest. My name is, as it is written there, John Chege, who is brought up in Huruma community, which is next to Runda and so close to Karura Forest. So I have been brought up there, so I've seen Karura Forest when it was in a very good state. Then it became in a very bad state where no one could be ready to be associated with it. And I am still watching and being a part and parcel to make it the way it is today, when the Kenya Forest Service and Friends of Karura Forest have been co-managing it together. And I am still watching over it in this time where there is all these challenges that are affecting, especially the community I come from. I'm a leader in that community. I'm also an elder in a church close to Huruma. And I have been involved in so many things to make Karura what it is. As we continue, I'll be sharing on how I was involved in making it a very bad forest where you could not be able or be ready to be associated with. And I will be also sharing on how I was involved in making it the way it is today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John Chege. Next, let us have Professor. Professor. Karibu.
Thank you very much. And let me thank everyone who is on this Mtandao for taking the time to come and listen, learn, and support us by making it known that forests are a public asset. Forests are people's asset, and they are very important in the livelihoods of any community anywhere globally. In Africa, we have this saying that when the last tree dies, the last man dies. And I can tell you that my involvement with forestry didn't come just like that. I was born by parents who are working in the forest ecosystem. My father was actually a cook of a white forester in the old days, and we lived in different forest stations, from Kaptagat to Soget, Kericho, Maji Mazuri, and finally he retired at Makutano Forest. And so I have been raised in a forest, and I saw our own forest being destroyed, the indigenous forest, and creation of plantation forests. So that has hurt me over the years, but now I have a time to now do something about it. And we've been involved in Friends of Karura Forest from the beginning, and I will talk about that much later. That's what I would like you to know me about, is that I am a person born in the forest and working for forest ecosystems, even at my 70th birthday, which is this year. Thank you.
So much. That's so powerful. Thank you so much. Let us go to Cherono. Cherono, kindly.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Julie Cherono Kimutai, and I'm the manager at Karura Forest Environmental Education Trust, or KFIT in short, where I oversee our education programs and conservation awareness initiatives. So I've been a teacher for over 2 decades, teacher, administrator, trainer, and now I'm in environmental education and conservation. So in short, what we do at KFIT is to educate, we inspire, we empower people, especially students, to value the environment, to protect the environment, because I think we can all agree that conservation starts with awareness. So if I can just speak very briefly about the history of KFIT, it was founded in 2010 by 5 trustees. That's Friends of Karura Forest, Oswald Education Relief Board, Greenbelt Movement, Vivo Energy, and Kenya Forest Service. Since then, we've worked with many, many learners from schools, universities, and even communities. And what we do is to teach the importance of forests, biodiversity, sustainable living. I think it's important at this point to state that our educational programs are absolutely free of charge to all our learners. So our operations at KFIT are largely facilitated and funded by these trustees who I've mentioned. And the support from Friends of Karura has been absolutely crucial as far as, our daily operations are concerned. So thank you once again for having me.
Thank you so much. And let us now go to Winnie.
Thank you very much. My name is Winnie Kiiru. I am an environmentalist, and Karura is very special to me because I started going to Karura to walk and be fit for a fundraiser that was helping to build a church not very far from Karura. And I met some wonderful friends. And Karura became the place where we really walked every week, 3 days a week, to try and become ready to climb Mount Kenya. We did a successful climb, and then after that, we realized that our time in Karura made us very fit, very happy. We bonded very well. And then we realized that there was something called Friends of Karura, and they are the ones who are responsible for this beautiful place. So myself and some of my friends, we approached Friends of Karura and said we would like to get involved. The rest is history. We got involved. I later was elected chairperson of Friends of Karura. My friend became treasurer of Friends of Karura. We were awed by the amount of work and volunteerism that Friends of Karura had started and what they were doing with that forest. We became very proud of being associated with it, and it hurts now to see an attack on the forest and Friends of Karura. And I want to thank all of you who are working and joining us in putting up and informing the public about what this forest is about, because it is truly the people's forest. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Winnie. And as I am still waiting for two more panelists, I want us to start it off now with John Chege. He has said he's actually a community member and he has been working at Karura. So, briefly, John, what does Karura mean to you as a person, especially now that you are working and you've been living there? What does it mean to you?
Thank you so much once again, and I may attest that this is an opportunity to just narrate and give out the untold stories of this forest. Karura means a lot to me. One of it is that you can be transformed. It is a transforming platform, because the reason why I'm saying it's a transforming platform is because when Karura Forest was being managed by Forest Department before KFS came on board, I was just a young man who could be able to go out and source my own daily bread. And the only way that I was doing that was just entering to the forest with a team of young men, felling trees, burning charcoal, splitting poles. But later we saw that was not enough, and I joined another team still in the forest to brew illicit brew, which is changa. And as we continued in that illegal business, by then we were meeting with Kenya Forest Rangers inside there. Many a times we used to compromise them because we were giving a lion's share to them on what we were doing by then. And I can say even the hints of the senior personnel of KFS when they were on patrol, this was revealed to us by the rangers who are working by that time. So it came a time that now this became too much, that even the government itself invaded the forest and started dividing land parcels to individual people. And by then, the forest turned to be a den of every illegal activity. One of it being somewhere you could feel like burning charcoal, enter there. Feel like grabbing land, go there. Feel like dumping dead bodies, go there. The government itself also brought people to be tortured in Karura Forest. But I thank God today that to transform these came a lady, Professor Wangari Maathai, who enabled the grabbers to be evicted by the community plus other good people who wanted to save the forest. And we assisted her on a serious note. My community played a very great role to assist Wangari Maathai to access the forest when it was fully combed by GSU personnel to prevent her from entering there. But before we took her in, she had come to my community and created a rapport that she showed us on a way that we can still earn our living without tampering or felling a single tree. And by so doing, she introduced a tree nursery that one of my groups which started this called Huruma Vision was funded by Green Belt Movement through Wangari Maathai, and we were being given seedlings, potting bags, and shown on how to bring up seedlings. This was way back in the year 2005, 2006. And when we started this, she was also showing us on where to sell these seedlings. She could go to different private corporates who volunteered to clear the forest. That is way back before the fence. clear the shrubs that are invasive like lantana and Mauritius thorn. And the seedlings that we were bringing up on our tree nursery were taken inside the forest, and then we were paid. So that one brought a transformation and a different mentality in our community, that it's not a must to fell a tree. So when she came to evict the grabbers, we assisted her shoulder high, and we were happy. That is the year 1997, 98, and 99. And now when this act came to place, the Act 2005 Forest Act, which was reviewed in 2016, when it came to place, I was involved in that, because when the Friends of Karura formation was being done, I was included in that. And the reason why they included me, because I could take them to the community, tell them what they want to do. And the community was very open when the Friends of Karura, the team that was forming the CFA, came to the community, told us, we want to fence this forest. We told them, surely, you will fence, it's good, but we are going to bring the fence down immediately. They wanted to know why, and we responded, because this forest has become our daily bread winning place. Some of us go to fell trees for charcoal, split poles for firewood, and others brew changa there. So they asked us, what if we can bring alternatives on those things? They promised job opportunities for the young people. They promised even allowing the community to go to the forest, collect firewood for 2 days per week. They promised even to employ the old women to go and take care of the trees that are going to be planted after the fence. And we clapped our hands. We said we shall support that completely. And when Friends of Karura formation came up, and now it was on place, and they got money to fence the forest, which one of the ladies, the outgrown British High Commissioner's wife, Alice McKay, went to doors and knocked and got money to put up the fence. They came back to me and asked me, how can we get the young people who can be able to bring up the fence, digging holes, putting the poles, and putting the live wire on board? And I requested them, we can use our community guys, and that is what we did. Then it came a time, Friends of Karura told us, we can't leave this fence alone, we can just employ some people to be patrolling it. And I was wise enough, I told them, the people who have been directly benefiting illegally in this forest, that is the target. And they told me, who are these? I brought on board those who are attacking people. I brought on board those who are brewing changa and burning charcoal there. I being one of them. Then they told me, because you have brought us a group that we are not confident that we shall be safe inside, take the role, be the chief scout. I headed the team. I started being the chief scout with zero idea of security, but Alice, the British High Commissioner's wife, was good enough to bring Batuk, that is British Army Training Unit in Kenya, on board to train us. And when they trained us, we got the best training, such that I have been the chief scout for the last 10 years, leading the young people to patrol this forest, to make sure that the visitors are comfortable when they are walking there. And I can recall when the visitors started flocking in the forest in February 2010, it's only a few foreigners who were coming to the forest. And when they came, they were asking us, is the forest safe and secure? We told them yes. They were not fully convinced. They were telling us, you need to jog or run with you. If they were running for 10 kilometers, I had to give a scout to run the forest 10 kilometers. I included, because I had only 9 scouts plus me, making 10. So if visitors came throughout that day and running 10 kilometers each, my scouts were running 30 on a daily basis and going home very much exhausted. So I can imagine where this forest started to be the way it is today. And I can assure you that the community is still supporting the forest, even a time like this, because we are getting words from our employer, Friends of Karura Forest, telling us that they are working things up there. But the community can be violent when their daily bread or a meat in their mouth is removed. But we don't want to go that direction. We are still calm, and we are looking forward for positive dialogue that is going to bring our community back to where they've been getting their daily bread. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really like how you ended it. That at least there is hope that we should have that dialogue. and that the community is still calm. I think that's the way to go, and that's why we are actually on this call this evening. So before I hand it to Professor Karanja, allow me to welcome. Kindly mute John. John, kindly mute yourself. Allow me to welcome one of the panelists who has just joined, Nyaguthi Chege, with the chairperson Greenbelt Movement, for a brief introduction. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here with all of you. I am Nyaguthi Chege, the chair of the board of directors of the Greenbelt Movement, and also a very proud member of Friends of Karura, CFA. And delighted as well to be a trustee of the Karura Forest Educational and Environment and Educational Center. I'm really looking forward to the conversation we're going to have here this evening. So let me pass it right back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and welcome. So, back to our professor, who is a veteran voice in environmental governance and community participation. Now, looking at the situation with this Karura issue, why do you think that we should look at it as more than just a forest, but a heritage site? Why should we look at it as a heritage site and not just forest, Professor?
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm so grateful that we are having a chat. Perhaps some of you may have come to the forest or may not have come to the forest, but they know about the forest. And I think I want to start by saying Karura Forest is a very special forest landscape because it's the only remaining part of the African montane indigenous forests along the southern part of the Aberdares. And it stretched before the colonialists took up farmlands and therefore destroyed our forests. This forest ended somewhere near Survey of Kenya, but it stretched westwards all the way to a place called Kabuku and Muthaiga. Muthaiga is near Kikuyu town. And it even some people argue it actually connected to Muguga Forest, where Muguga Research Center is. Imagine that was all one forest. But the little tiny remaining is less than, it's 1,000 hectares of all that land. Most of the land was taken by the colonial farmers and now have been obviously changed. Most of it is now owned by Kenyans, but still, you'll find the large tea farmers. Those tea farms were forests before before independence. I mean, in long times. Now, before the white colonial government was set. The other thing that I want to elucidate is the fact that our terrain across the country has been so badly interfered with over time by farmers, by logging, illegal logging, and so on and so forth, such that Kenya's forest cover has dwindled year in, year out, to the point where the current government talks more about tree cover than forest cover. Which means when they count forest cover or that cover, they're actually counting my 10 trees in my house in Runda. And they're counting your 2 ones in wherever you live. That is counted as a forest. We need to reject some of these things and say a forest ecosystem cannot be equated with 2 trees or 3 trees planted in Uhuru Park. Forest ecosystems have a livelihood participation. It participates in giving us livelihood options that are very unique. The biodiversity of our Kenyan forests should be as good as that of Uganda or DRC Congo or Tanzania. Today, my brothers and sisters, Kenya has the lowest forest cover in the East African community. DRC being one at the top, Tanzania is there the second, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. And believe you me, even when we count the latest entrant to the East African community, the Somalia has more forest cover than Kenya. So this is shocking. And in fact, I had to Google it to really find out whether that is correct. And yes, it's correct. Our forest cover has dwindled significantly. Why are people interested in Karura Forest beyond conserving it in the manner we have done in the last 15 years? Our greed has exceeded our ability to think positively for the greater good of the Republic of Kenya and the people of Kenya and the economy of Kenya. Every close canopy forest anywhere is what Wangari Maathai used to call a water tower or a water catchment. Why? Because when rains come and it rains in the forest, the water that gets into that forest actually seeps into our underground water aquifers. Because by the time they reach the soil, they are not streaming with force. They are coming in drops. And even if you go after rain season, you'll be able to see that it's wet in the forest from a rain that happened a week or two ago. Otherwise, we've turned our lives into concrete jungles and tarmacking our roads, and the water then runs very swiftly to the rivers, and all that water heads to Mombasa. We need to requench or to deposit what God gives us through rains into our underground water aquifers. If you are from Nairobi and you actually want water from a borehole and you live in Eastlands or you live in Karen, you are most likely going to dig 300 meters before you find water. If you do so, that water doesn't belong. It is not what you have captured above ground. It is what has been captured from very far away. I would not be surprised, although I'm not a scientist in terms of earth formation, that we may be drinking water through these boreholes that doesn't belong to Kenya. It is water that was captured in Ethiopia. We need to think about what we are doing with our forest ecosystems. I want to also highlight the problematic issue of the government thinking that forests belong to them. No, forests are a key player in the survival of humanity in any community. And therefore, forests rightfully belong to people. And that is why Professor Wangari Maathai, after fighting in Karura, like you have heard from John Chege, she was elected member of parliament in Tetu and appointed an assistant minister. Through her contribution, she sought a change in our laws of forest governance. And the Kenya Forest Act was enacted in 2005. It has since been changed in 2016 and so on. But the primary objective of that act was that the participation of communities is a must. It's not a if, no. Every forest must be managed with the contribution of the community in terms of what plans do you develop for the development and protection of that forest. And then you come up with a forest management plan, and those two are given to KFS, and KFS approves them. And if they don't approve them, they must suggest alternatives to what has been proposed by the community. That is how we run the participatory forest management through CFAs, community forest associations. The Friends of Karura Forest were very unique from the beginning. It has never been discussed as a subject that the forest could be any other way done other than retaining it as a close canopy African montane forest, remove all eucalyptus, pines and cypresses and other plantations, and we then preserve the nature that our forefathers lived on and that the future kids, our kids, will also rely on. I am very proud to have been involved in the 15 years since we started. I was the second chairman of the Karura Forest, Friends of Karura Forest, and it gives me pride to say we saved that forest. Not only did Professor Wangari lead us, but we found a civil service, and particularly the Kenya Forest Service, who actually had no clue on how or what to do with Karura Forest. And when we approached them and said we want to fence the forest with electric fence, the first question I had from the then director of Kenya Forest Service was, "Hey, Prof, why do you want to waste your money? This forest is already gone. People have titles. The government has given it up. You spend your money somewhere else." We said, "No, we don't even have money right now. But we want you to approve that we are going to build a fence. We are building a fence by faith, and we'll go out there and look for the money." He found me, he couldn't change my mind, and he let me go. And we went around looking for people to fund. History will put some people in very high positions because they are responsible for securing that forest. EABL, Barclays, INM, and many other small donors that came along to make sure that we fenced that forest. But we were fencing in people's titles or land given to other people. So before I knew it, I want to tell you, even I was taken to the police, Gigili, that I'm refusing people to open the gate for people whose land is inside Karura. And when I went, I talked to the OCPD at Gigiri. He agreed with me. He told me, just go. This man, when he comes, I'll tell him to go to court. And we waited for the case in court. That one did not come. But somebody else did come. A company registered in the British Virgin Island called York Holdings Limited. That company took us to court. Not only they took Kenya Forest Service to court. And we were not eager to be enjoined because we thought Kenya Forest Service would fight. But lo and behold, as God would provide, he urged me to go and listen in the court in Milimani Court. And fortunately also, I carried with me the forest management plan and the forest management agreement, both of them signed by the director of Kenya Forest Service then. And when I sat in the court and listened to how the case, and that was not the first day, I went somewhere in the middle of the case. And the York Holdings Limited had 3 lawyers. We had one from Kenya Forest Service, and I sat next to him, and we listened to how these people were poo-pooing everything and saying, look, a title is a very important document. Once issued by the government, nobody should come between it because that land belongs to York Holdings Limited, and so on and so forth. But to cut a long story short, at some point, the judge asked the KFS lawyer, is this a good title? Is this title valid? Is it from the government? Is it a good title? And that lawyer said, yes, it's a proper title, but irregularly given. And then somebody jumped up, one of the lawyers, and said, there's nothing called irregularly given. If he has said that the title is from the government, then you must rule that we own that land. My heart sank. By luck of God, the judge said, look, it's coming close to the 1 o'clock. We'll stop here. When we come back, the Kenya Forest Service can make his remarks. I walked out of there sweating. And I started thinking who I can call. But before I called anyone, somebody came down the steps at Milimani Court, somebody that I knew as a lawyer, who is our current chair now, Mwaniki Gashoka. And I grabbed him and I told him, we are in trouble. Who are you in trouble with? No, it's not my family. I am a chairman of Friends of Karura Forest. And he said, oh, I have heard about that. Yeah. But this is. He said, now what can we do with it? I mean, we are coming back at 2 o'clock. Can we see each other? And I said, no, you have to come at 2 o'clock and say that you are representing me. It's that you are late in coming. Oh, we went and sat down and he prepared some notes very quickly. Fortunately, I had the notes that I had. And he told me, don't worry, we'll go back. At 2 o'clock, we were back with him. And I sat very far from the Kenya Forest Service person or the others. We sat. And when we came back, when the judge came in, the first person to shoot up was my lawyer, saying, I'm very sorry, I apologize. I should have notified this court that I have been engaged by the Friends of Karura Forest, and he gave our certificate of registration. And we have gone through this. We are understanding very lately that the forest is now under attack. People will get titles and so on. So somebody shot up and said, the judge should not listen to us. We are busybodies and so on. But luckily, the judge said, I want to listen to them first before ruling on that. And to cut a long story short, we were enjoined and the judge ruled that the case will be heard 2 weeks from then so that we can have an opportunity to serve the other two parties. It is very interesting because when the judge listened to the entire case, not only did she rule in our favor, but she ruled also against anybody holding a title for the forest. And the ruling was made in June 2019, and the case started in 2013. You can see how much fight there was in that period. So I'm asking you as friends of conservation, if we lose the battle with Karura, I cannot see anywhere else you will win a battle. The battle cannot be won in Mau. They have taken a lot of that land out of forestry. They have already started building on areas where, or getting into forests where we never expected development. For example, the West Elgon Forest near the border with Uganda. They recently said that they are going to give away 50 acres at that border post so that they can build a township. Is that the role of the government, really? So what I'm saying is, what happens with this case of Karura today if the people do not really remain focused to tell the government, no, we will not accept this? I think we'll lose the little that is left of our forest ecosystems across Kenya. So my plea to you as listeners is this: protecting our vital landscapes is not just an environmental issue. It is a matter of national survival. Without healthy forest ecosystems, there is no food security, no water security, no economic prosperity, and no future for our children. What are we going to leave to our young children in Nairobi if the entire Nairobi turns into a concrete jungle? That is my call for you. We are prepared. We are ready. The friends of Karura Forest feel completely threatened, and you need to come and help us fight this battle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. And I like the fact that you had also mentioned that we'll be surprised to see even Somali is leading by far in terms of forest cover. So I'll invite you later on to at least share with us some global lessons on participatory conservation that we can apply at Karura. But just before that, I can see a lot of us are putting out their questions and concerns, and Bishwa will attend to them. And a quick reminder that we are here basically to highlight the role of communities and that of FKF in transforming and sustaining Karura, also amplifying grassroots voices who directly benefit from and depend on the Karura preservation. And lastly, we call for inclusive governance, ensuring that the community participation is put in consideration in decision making, revenue collection, and of course fund allocation. Allow me to welcome Nyaguthi Chege to respond to a question that I feel like we should tackle on the historical perspective. So from that historical perspective that we've at least had a brief one from the two presenters, what lessons can we learn from the Karura's past struggles? Nyaguthi.
Thanks so much, and always so important to hear from the community. And so, Chege, thank you for joining. First of all, disclaimer: we are not related, as far as we know, but always good to hear directly from a community member, and then, of course, with Professor Karanja and his long association with Karura and the struggles that we have had protecting it. So, as both Chege and Prof talked about the involvement of Professor Maathai, who, as we know, was the founder of the Greenbelt movement, there was a real effort in order to ensure that Karura Forest and other public forests, our public gazetted forests, are protected in perpetuity, right? So we've got the struggles for us today, the current generations. And as I say today, I mean, this is now the second generation, which is thinking about, again, how do we ensure that we're protecting Karura, and of course for future generations. So there's a few points that I think we can raise. We can talk about what we have learned from these efforts and the history of the last, I would say most immediately around Karura for the last 25 years, because recall that it was in August, and actually it was this past month, August. I believe it was August 16th in 1999 that the then President Moi declared that Karura will be forever, protected as a public forest. So there was a really, really tough battles, including, quite a bit of violence that we know about, started especially from 1998 and through to 1999. And then, as you can hear from Professor Karanja, even after that, especially after 2002 with the new dispensation and the new constitution, there was still a long way to go in order to make sure that we're protecting Karura and, more broadly, all our public forests. So here's some lessons that I think is really important for us to keep in mind, which is why it will be very clear that we are fighting so hard to ensure that the sanctity of the agreement that has been signed between Friends of Karura Forest Association and KFS on behalf of the government continues to be respected and to be implemented. The first thing is that it is imperative that we have very strong community forest associations. And the strength needs to be in three ways. It is the capacity of the members of the association to be able to have both the management skills and the technical knowledge in order to protect the forest. This is an investment, right? So Chege talked about how they had to be trained from being changa brewers and people who illegally used to harvest firewood from the forest to people who now are learning new skills, right? We now have people who are guides. We have people who are scouts. We have people who are, staffing the gates who also are learning how to be the customer service skills, etc. But we also know that they also need to really understand the technical aspects of maintaining a forest, right? So that is both, matters around biodiversity. How do you maintain a forest that will attract, the hundreds of species of animals, birds, and butterflies that we have there. And of course, then, in terms of the capacity, CFA must have financial resources, right? It is imperative that they have the financial resources that they can reinvest into the forest and the forest ecosystem in order that it can be a healthy, thriving ecosystem, right? And so that is part of, and folks here, welcome to read the Forestry Act and the management of forests and the idea of what participatory forest governance looks like and means. But having financial resources is key, right? And we see that in other forests where we do not have strong CFAs, we have some of those challenges that Professor Karanja was talking about. The second thing that is also important for us to be very aware of is that the surrounding communities must have a vested interest in the forest, in the health of the forest and the viability of their forest. It's in their interest, every single one of the surrounding members of the communities, to ensure that it thrives and that it meets the diversity of needs of all the residents who are adjacent. So from the lower income communities in the villages around there to the folks who are living in the much wealthier communities, the ones who are not interested necessarily in the firewood component or making a livelihood, but a place to come and exercise. It is all these folks who are then invested in that. And a third aspect is that of those ones who, especially the ones who are the most marginalized communities, those who are in the lower wealth bracket, the lower income bracket, they must benefit materially, financially from the forest. It is poverty that causes people to destroy their environment. It is not maliciousness, right? It is poverty. So how do you ensure that they're benefiting financially from the forest? And as importantly, that those benefits, they must feel and believe that they are being equitably shared, right? That there's not this massive inequity between the people who are very wealthy and those who are on the lower income side of the community. And finally, one of the lessons we learned is that the government is a custodian of the forest. It's not the owner. It is not the owner, and I'll repeat that again, because this is one thing that we know from the way our forest governance structures, we inherited those during colonial times where the crown owned the land and the public assets. We know that is what governs these countries where you have the, royalty that does that, the king and the queen own the public assets. That is not the case. And because of that fact, in that, the very first article in our constitution says, sovereign power belongs to the people, that we're working with the government, which is the custodian and not the owner. And a lot builds from that. So maybe I'll stop there and pass it back to you. Thanks.
Have we lost
Winnie.
Emmanuel, or are you muted?
Sorry. So, Dr. Winnie, just a quick one, which is almost close to what Nyaguthi has just shared. You are a long-standing conservation advocate and a member of FKF. And I wanted us to hear from you that we know that FKF has worked along a tough journey with this forest. So what are some of the key struggles that has shaped this journey? And looking back at that same journey, what are the major gains that FKF has achieved that the public should never take it for granted?
Thank you very much. I think we've heard a lot about the struggle, so I'll start with the gains first and say that Friends of Karura, has really worked tirelessly in the restoration efforts for this forest. I think we heard previously that by the time Friends of Karura was coming in, large areas of the forest had been logged. Areas had been cut down for firewood. There was a lot of invasive species, the lantana camara, the Mauritius thorn, which made it very difficult to grow any new seedlings. Friends of Karura has worked to restore the forest by, number one, having a thriving indigenous tree nursery. That means that we have the indigenous tree species that should be found in Karura. We have a nursery that's thriving, and every time we have opportunity to plant and grow trees, we have a great seedlings with that. Lastly, by members of the community, and we take great effort to ensure that we have all the trees and shrubs of Karura well represented in that tree nursery. So we are proud to say that in the last 15 years, we've been able to bring back Karura literally from 35% indigenous tree cover to now over 60%, meaning that many areas that were either covered by invasive species or by exotics like eucalyptus have now been restored back to indigenous forest cover. Why is this important? It's because it then allows the forest to become alive. And we can see that the forest is alive because we are starting to see African crowned eagles nesting in the forest. We have seen the return of the river otters. We are starting to see a lot more biodiversity in the forest, the striped jackals, the bush pigs, rare antelopes. I think people walking in Karura now can see an increase in the harvest duiker. You can also see the success of the reintroduction of the colobus monkeys, which we brought back from areas in Kinangop that were badly logged. We've had over 100 new birds of colobus monkeys. So a restored indigenous forest is a rich forest that is able to provide all the biodiversity services that a forest really should. So we have over 70 different species of local trees, and this means that the forest is alive, and anybody going to Karura can see that that restoration effort has made that forest thrive in so many ways. The other thing that I would say is a point of pride for Friends of Karura is just the visitation of the forest. Because for the forest to be a place that serves not just as an ecosystem service, but also recreation. As Chege said, in those early years, we had maybe just a few brave souls. At most 300 people would enter that forest, maybe even in a whole year. Today, we have 70,000 plus Kenyans and foreign citizens entering that forest every month. Every single month. We have kept the gate charges very low, 100 shillings. Anybody can just take a matatu to Limuru Gate or Kiambu Gate, walk into the forest with their family and have a fantastic day. It's probably the best spent 100 bob that any Kenyan can invest. So the visitation in Karura means that people are able to come, enjoy the air in Karura, enjoy family time, hire bikes and ride them around the forest, bring their food and have a picnic around the forest. Those who are able to can go to the river cafe and have a very good time there. So not only have we increased the level of visitation to that forest, we've also made it a safe haven for anybody who is able to come through those gates. Additionally, we have made sure that the community living next to the forest is able to enjoy that forest as well, because we take care of their livelihoods. We have over 300 women who have formed groups. We also have groups of youth, we have groups of men, but the women, probably if you go to Karura, you will see how they value what Karura has done for them. They're able to come in as groups. They work in the forest. They're the ones who work in the nursery. They do all the tree caring. They do a lot of the casual work in the forest. And because they are well remunerated for the work that they do, it means that they are able to take their children to school and meet their daily needs in their homes. And that provides us what we call a social fence for Karura. We've also been able to employ 122 scouts. A majority of them are from the villages around us, Huruma, Githogoro, Deep Sea. And so when they go back home, they're able to be good advocates for the forest. Additionally, we actually pay bursaries for children of people who live around the forest. We have paid 285 bursaries for kids. When we start a child in Form 1, we pay for them right up to Form 4. And if they want to continue to a TVET or to university, we continue paying. So not only are we providing employment, we are also providing support for the community to be able to educate their children. So in terms of what Friends of Karura has been able to achieve is that we have a holistic approach to how we work in that forest. I can tell you that in terms of the staff, the contracts that we give the community, the people who maintain all our infrastructure, the electric fence that you see in Karura, all that forest regeneration work, we're able to keep people employed. Indeed, Karura is the one place where people did not even lose their jobs during COVID. Again, Friends of Karura, in terms of being a membership organization, is a thriving forest, community forest association. So we are able to also expand our knowledge to others. We have in our budget outreach money where we bring in other community forest associations to learn about our model, to learn how they can be able to organize so that they can operationalize forest management. It is important to say that Friends of Karura is not a boardroom organization. Friends of Karura is an operational partner with Kenya Forest Service. And for that reason, when you come to Karura, you may not see us, but KFS can say that the operational role of Friends of Karura is what makes Karura Forest what it is. The customer service experience that you have in Karura is very much the work and the training of Friends of Karura. The beauty of Amani Gardens and those places where you go for your picnics is very much as a result of the operational excellence of Friends of Karura. And so this model is so important and should be replicated. Instead of being frustrated, this model should be replicated because it works positively for all aspects of the forest, as Nyaguthi said, in terms of bringing in the social good, restoring the forest, and making it a place of recreation for those who need it for recreation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Win, and I think that is very much clear, which again, I want to believe that it has answered some of the questions that have been raised in the comment section. Allow me now to move on to Julie Kimutai, who is the manager, Karura Forest Environmental Education Trust. And now that she has a very good background in education initiatives, kindly would you share with us how the environmental education has contributed in the protection of Karura? Sharon.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So, Dr. Winnie has just alluded to the number of visitors who come to Karura every month and indeed every year. Among those visitors are our very precious learners. Every year, thousands of learners visit the forest. We're talking about learners from pre-primary school age all the way to post-secondary. Now, so far, these learners, when they visit the forest, they are charged a highly subsidized student forest entry fee, which of course is channeled back into protecting and caring for the forest. Now, as I mentioned during my introduction, when they come to the education center, there's no additional charge for the students to visit the education center. So I would say that environmental education has been, of course, very important. It's been a very important contributing factor to Karura's survival, Karura's protection, and even the success. When all of us, really, all human beings, and most especially children, understand the value of the forest, they develop that sense of ownership and responsibility. I think it's Professor Karanja, who said, Karura is more than a forest. For us as educators, it is a classroom that comes alive. So when learners come to the education center, they don't just take a walk. What we'll do is we'll add value to their education visits. Let me explain that a bit further. So let's say a school books a visit with us and they want to learn about a specific topic, or they want to achieve a certain educational objective. So when the learners visit the education center, what we do is we give them a brief lecture session, which will link those specific objectives that they're being taught at school with what they can expect to see in the forest. Then we also have a team of trained educational facilitators who are seconded to us by FKF. They're employees of FKF. They're actually the forest scouts. They get facilitator training, and right now we have a team of 9 who are attached to the education center. And these facilitators attend the lectures, and then they'll go out into the forest with the learners. They'll accompany them on their forest walk. They will answer their questions. They will ensure that they meet their learning objectives. But also, in addition, they also ensure that the learners are safe, as they visit the forest. When these learners leave the forest, what we feel proud to have done at the education center, we have imparted knowledge about, biodiversity, about conservation, and more, the history of Karura, the different ecosystems within the forest, even how the community involvement works in the forest. Just in general, building and increasing environmental awareness. And when we build that awareness, it creates a strong community that actually defends, loves, and wants to see the protection of the forest. And not just Karura Forest, of all forests. And, at the education center, we feel there is much more to be done in terms of expanding our programs and, strengthening environmental and conservation education. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Yeah, before you have a quick rest, maybe. How can we ensure that education remains a pillar in Karura's future management, now that it plays a major role in also making sure that we are conserving at least all the forests, not just Karura? So how can we ensure that education remains a pillar?
Thank you, Emmanuel. Education is critical. And we believe, the future of Karura depends on keeping education at the heart of everything that we do. And what does that mean? That means, all stakeholders coming together, continually investing in educational program, in training educational facilitators like the ones who have been seconded to us by FKF. Embracing creative tools, which is up to us at the center. For example, we have a partner who's worked with us to create some comics for children. Having digital platforms as well, expanding to community clubs and so on. There's so much scope for what can be done. But it is my belief that the future of Karura depends on keeping education really at the center of it all. the role of FKF in supporting education has been critical to us at KFIT. And with their support, we can also widen the access, ensuring that children from every background get that chance or that opportunity to learn and to experience the forest. If we keep inspiring the next generation, the young children, with the knowledge of love and with the knowledge and the love of nature, we'll make sure that Karura remains protected, that they will feel that connection with Karura, that Karura will always be a place that they love and they want to come to, even for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so insightful. And I like the fact that there is a kind of an action, a call to action that we can all participate in, making sure that everything is going on well. So I want us again to go back to Nyaguthi Chege and hear a bit on how the community driven stewardship is critical in this whole conservation issue. Why is community-driven stewardship critical in forest conservation? Good.
I would say, Emmanuel, and listeners, is that it's exactly what we're talking about, the sustainability of the forest, right? Like we were saying, if you don't have people invested, and by people I mean the general public, first of all, and in forests we also talk about the forest adjacent communities, who are the most immediate representatives of the public when it comes to the public participation in forest conservation and forest governance. If you do not have them vested in the success and the survival of the forest, then they'll be it's guaranteed to fail. If they feel that either they don't have an interest or it doesn't serve a purpose, or they're not going to benefit from it, then we are absolutely going to see the decline of the asset, in this case the forests, and ultimately their destruction. And it is the people who have the interest who then are the first both to benefit and the first to protect. I will tell you that when it comes to the work that we do, so much of what we do, for example, the case that Greenbelt movement filed a petition last year against the government with the proposed excision of 51.64 acres from Karura Forest for the expansion of Kiambu Road, that information came from a whistleblower, right? It was individuals, and it was more than one whistleblower actually, because there were 3 different matters that we brought in that petition in court last year, and it was different sources that came forward and said, this is an issue. Is there something we can do about it? We recognize that this could be a real threat to Karura. You will recall, those of you who either have watched news items or video clips or even read Professor Maathai's autobiography Unbowed, that even that was the same case with Karura, the fight from 25 years ago, and also with Uhuru Park. So this is to say, without the community involvement, you cannot have a successful stewardship. Without community investment, you're not going to have successful stewardship. And without them, without the public, we are truly going to lose our forests. Back to you, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And also, can you share on how best this grassroots organization can balance between the conservation and the justice part? Because I think most of the critics that are out there is that there is an assumption that anyone who is basically working with conservation probably should not maybe be in the justice field. So how best can this grassroots organization balance between the conservation with justice?
So I think that's actually a misnomer. You cannot have conservation without justice. And let me explain why. When we think about environmental justice is a component of economic and social justice. We talked about this, at the top of the hour, at the beginning of our conversation, right? And we know that in our Constitution, we have a Bill of Rights, and there's a whole series of rights that we have in there, including a right to a clean and healthy environment. Let's take the example of communities which have no access to green spaces, right? And we have that all over Nairobi and truly in our other cities and large towns, right? We have no public space, whether it's parks or forests, that are accessible either for free or at an accessible fee to the majority of the residents there. So when we take Nairobi, for example, and we all know that frequently when you're passing in communities on Saturdays and particularly on Sundays, you see families who are sitting on the medians between the highway or on little edges on the road, because that is the one public space that people have to be able to come out. When we think about what Waiyaki Way, Uhuru Highway used to look like before the construction of the expressway, and even when you're walking up Kenyatta Avenue, adjacent to Central Park and Uhuru Park, those highways, those roads used to be lined with both young trees to old growth trees, right? Trees that were 50 to 60 years old. Those ones would, for example, provide shade for the pedestrians who were there or people who would stop and stop on their walks. We know that there are communities today in Nairobi that the only green space they see is whatever little slivers happen to be left on the roads and along the highways. That is not the kind of healthy environment for both physical health and also mental health that any of us would want or expect. So when we say environmental justice is a component of economic and social justice, and you cannot achieve that without having as a goal the protection and conservation of green spaces, whether it's the parks or whether it's our urban forests, and even going further out into outside to the urban areas. There is a reason why we're protecting the forest, like Professor Karanja said at the top of the hour, was the role that our forests play in terms of the ecosystem services they provide. Professor Maathai had said years ago that in the survival of the ecosystems, in that is our own survival. We destroy our environment, we destroy ourselves. If we cannot guarantee a healthy life for the citizens of Kenya through providing a clean environment, a healthy environment, through conserving our green spaces, then that is the ultimate violation of our rights and is not leading to any kind of just acquisition of justice or rights in our country. Back to you, Emmanuel. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think that one is very satisfactory. So I'd seen John Chege was back, but fortunately I think he's having some challenges with his network. However, we have also heard that there are some beneficiaries from the FKF Bursary, and luckily enough, one of the beneficiaries is on call. That is Francis Otieno, who is a direct beneficiary of community initiatives supported by the Karura's revenue. Francis, welcome, and kindly share with us how the FKF Bursary has shaped your education and life journey as a whole.
Hello, thank you. Now, I want to paint a picture of what the takeover threatens in terms of the community engagement and student scholarship, and why I'm invested so much in this matter, and why cutting off finance resources actually threatens a very vital part of the FKF program. I was raised in Karura Forest, so I have a picture of what it looked like previously and what it actually now looks like after the investment that FKF have put in place, the facilities that we enjoy today, which are courtesy of FKF and CFA. I was lucky enough to have had my scholarship for high school and in extension even to my university. And I also know we were so many others, and there's the current lot that is also under scholarship, which now the current situation about the government takeover is actually threatening to cut off the stability that they had in terms of their education. So the program in it itself is a very vital part of the FKF and the Community Forest Association activities within the forest. So it is not just about threatening the visitation to the forest, but also the students who are currently under the scholarship program and the bursary schemes that are being issued.
Thank you, Francis. Just kind of a continuation on the same. So do you still believe that bursaries and social projects must continue in this case? You see, most of the young people, especially the young people, I think they are the ones who have been bringing a lot of politics in this, trying to taint some organizations that probably they have been using the communities. Now, as a beneficiary, do you think these social projects should continue that case?
The social projects should definitely continue. That is something I so much believe in, 100% sure that it must continue. I've seen its benefit. Yeah, so I'm very much in support of it. It actually gave me stability in creating. It actually like shed light to the path of my future. So by me being in school, I already knew I can pursue this because I have a secure base. I have a financial backing from FKF. So it's 100% something I'm in support of.
All right. Thank you so much, Francis. As you prepare for another set of questions, allow me to welcome Dr. Winnie and tackle this one. Yeah, Dr. Winnie, as will be tackling this next question. I think John Chege should also be preparing himself so that he can share with us some information on just a question which I'll be sharing later on. So to you, Dr. Winnie, why is it so critical to build on these gains instead of dismantling them? I'm talking about the gains that you've mentioned, which were a number of them. So instead of dismantling them, and what would you say to Kenyans about defending them today? Because I think even if you look at the comment section, you realize that some of the people are just kind of putting some negative comments, because I am not so sure whether they've been following up the conversation, or they are more of just coming with their own mindsets in this call. So I mean, why is it so critical to build on the gains that you've shared with us instead of dismantling them? Dr. Winnie,
thank you very much. Indeed, I spoke about 3 different ways in which Karura Forest, the joint management of Karura Forest, between...
Just a minute, Dr. Winnie.
Yes.
Professor, kindly can you mute so that we can... Thank you. So back to you, Dr. Winnie.
So I've spoken about the partnership between Kenya Forest Service, Friends of Karura, and how it has helped us to achieve 3 key goals. One is restoration of the forest. I said we have managed to now get Karura to 65% indigenous. The goal is to reach 100%. So we are not yet there. 100% indigenous forest will be a forest that provides way more ecosystem services than what we are able to see now. Like I said, we are seeing the return of species of plants and animals that we had not seen before. Imagine what will happen in another few years when this forest is 100% indigenous. Remember, Karura is a conservation forest. Can you imagine the gains for Nairobi and Kenya in terms of ecosystem services? I think that's a real case for why the partnership between Kenya Forest Service and Friends of Karura in its entirety must be protected. The second thing I've talked about is the livelihood aspect of this partnership, because by providing jobs, by ensuring that our youth, women, men are gainfully employed, we are actually managing to reach one of the key goals of the government. I think job creation is a key goal of the government. And so to reverse that gain by creating or killing the partnership that has already created 122 permanent jobs and 400 casual jobs that are very reliable, that we were even able to uphold during COVID. I think it's unbelievable that anyone could be jeopardizing that partnership that has created that kind of positive gain that really is felt very, very strongly by the communities around Karura. Thirdly, I've talked about recreation. Recreation as a way to give people a place to come and exercise, a place to come and distress. We are living in a very stressful world. We have many challenges. And I see groups of young people coming in to bike together, then they have a picnic together. I'm sure that person who spends a whole morning in Karura with their friends doesn't go back home angry. It is so important for us to create those recreational spaces. And as Nyaguthi has rightly said, they are definitely reducing in our city, in Nairobi. Now, because those services touch the people so well, it therefore means that Karura is protected by those who value it. It's protected by those who value it. It's not Karura is a people's forest. The people feel strongly that Karura should remain the way it is. And I want to emphasize, it is the joint management of Karura, successful joint management of Karura, with all the principles set out in the joint management agreement. It is maintaining that agreement and continuing to implement it in its entirety that will secure those gains that we have made and ensure that in the future we can build upon them. Because I cannot see why any Kenyan right now wouldn't celebrate job creation. I cannot see any Kenyan who would not celebrate restoration of a natural space, of a forest that would ensure ecosystem services that we so badly need in this country. I cannot possibly think that there is a Kenyan somewhere who would not like to see the joy, the health benefits that come from a day well spent in Karura. I cannot imagine a Kenyan who doesn't dream of their child going to a place where they can totally enjoy education in a living laboratory, because that is what Karura is. When the children come to Karura, they are actually seeing the natural forest. I remember one time a group of young kids from a children's home came to Karura, and this child was rolling around in the grass in Amani, and we were planting trees with them. And this child looked at me, looked at me and said, "Mama, hapa ni Kenya." I can tell you my heart broke into many pieces. What was that child expressing to me? You're in this place with this beautiful grass, and this is actually Kenya. This is a Kenyan child. He wasn't coming from very far. He was coming from the neighborhood, from a children's home in the high density settlements. He asked me, "Hapa ni Kenya, Mama." Now, is that the Kenya? Is that the questions we want our children to ask us? We want our children to see a beautiful country. And therefore, these models we are creating, if we maintain them, maybe, just maybe, we can extend them even further to other smaller areas, to other forests, so that our children stop thinking that these are special places that they cannot develop. So I think that protecting what we have built in Karura in its entirety, as it is defined in the Joint Management Plan, which is a legal document, must be protected. That status quo must be restored. And any attack on that management Kenyans should protest, really, because who hates success? And Karura is success epitomized. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Winnie. That's so powerful. With the example of the kid that was asking, hapa kweli ni Kenya, I think, we can all relate. And I agree that it's something that you've really done a very good job, and we don't have to expect such from our children. So welcome back, Professor Karanja and John Chege. Allow me to go to John Chege. Kindly respond to some questions as we are finishing up this space. So you had shared a lot on the workers and of course the local communities, John. And why is it so important for the workers and local communities to be consulted in decisions, in your own words, John? Why do you think it's very important for the workers and of course the local communities to be consulted in decision making?
Thank you very much giving me a second opportunity, and I want to respond on what you've asked me. In my own words, I can say that it is very, very much important for the local communities as well as the workers to be consulted, because during the formation of Friends of Karura Forest, such that when they were forming the CFA, as I started explaining, is that they came round to the neighboring communities and telling them what exactly they wanted to do to save the forest. And during those consultations, there were discussions that were arose, there were concerns, and there were agreements that we came to. So, at every point and in everything that is done with the forest, which is neighboring us and which has become a haven of people who love nature, the communities around ought to be consulted. Be it small or big thing, they need to be consulted. And that's the reason why, when it was being secured, when it was totally gone, such that this forest made even some of us to become untrained morticians when we were collecting those dead bodies. We believe that consultations made it reach where it is today, and the communities around us very high hope on the joint management of Karura Forest, because what it promised them, they surely got it. And we are celebrating that it has gone even beyond, because by those days, we didn't imagine that today our children could be awarded bursaries as they are being awarded today from the revenue that is collected in Karura Forest and distributed by joint management. We didn't imagine that even the impoverished schools that are around here, apart from the bursaries, they could have programs to be ferried to Karura Forest to learn more about conservation, because there are children in schools which are around here that cannot be able to go to the gates and pay entry to visit the park. But Friends of Karura have been able to pay for them to enter, facilitate for buses, and also prepare programs that are linked with the current curriculum of the schools around, being spearheaded by Judy, because we've been working so close with her. I know we have gone to those schools. I know benefits have gone even beyond the agreement and the promises that were made there before. So consultation is a must. And as a community leader, I repeat it, consultation is a must. And let us go the right way as it started. We don't want to end it the way it is going today, because even the community themselves are feeling that they are betrayed. But we are assuring them they are not yet there, because consultations, we are looking for positive ones that are ongoing right now. Thank you.
John, before you go, what do you fear most if the community is sidelined in the Karura speech?
My greatest fear is that we may go to the dark days which started there, and the only thing they will observe on is just because I'm even right now I'm sitting so close to the fence, about 5 meters, and that's where my community is. I believe we can't imagine going back, because they think now the only daily bread is what they left, where they were transformed from. That is burning charcoal and felling of trees. This erected fence does not prevent the community from entering or doing anything in the forest. But the community have stand firm, being a social fence at all the sites that are surrounding this forest. So my greatest worry, because even when Wangari was evicting the grabbers, I was there. When we were putting the machineries ablaze, I was there. So I can't imagine witnessing such a scenario again, when the community will be very violent, going back forcibly to look for the daily bread. My prayer is that we continue with the system that has been there for the last 15 years, and I believe we shall be walking the right track. Back to you, Benjamin.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, John. So, Professor, before you went for a break, I had asked you to share on the global lessons on participatory conservation that we can apply on Karura. So just briefly share with us as we move to the last question. Professor?
I would like to. Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're on.
This is lost. Oh, you can hear me? Okay. I would like, first of all, to briefly just repeat what John has said. Everything good starts from the perception of those who receive the services of that goodness. Are we together? So if you're doing something good, don't say yourself, oh, I have done something good. No, wait until the person who appreciates that goodness tells you, oh my, you've done a good thing. And I know that for 15 years in Karura, we have done a good thing. because I can see communities who would never enter the forest are now coming into the forest. You'll see people who are not traditionally people who would go out for a walk in the forest. Now they are doing walks in the forest. And we are also beginning to see a change in the composition of our poor neighborhoods, like Huruma, where John stays. And you can see young kids doing very well in school. It's because of the effects of 15 years of support for those young ones in the school system. And so let us not blame each other. And this is a message that I want to reach also our colleagues in KFS. We are not blaming you. We are saying that the mode of operation that we created through the participatory forest management is the best. It has served us well. We have not gone to collect dead bodies in the forest. We have not had rapists reported there. Trees are still intact. We are doing a very good job, which I think Winnie has ably stated. So we are not opposed to KFS because of something that they are blaming us for. We are opposing them for not defending us when someone somewhere says that we are mismanaging money. Instead of coming to our side and saying we have done this, we have done this, we have done the other, you have sat aside as KFS and you are watching us being removed from the way we have always been able to do work with you. There are no partnerships that don't have a quarrel or, they say two bottles in a case will always create a noise there, yeah? But this is not a normal noise. We always do our accounts. The accounts are with our financial manager. Yet, someone has said they have come to do an audit. They did not speak to the financial manager. They did not talk to our operations manager, and they did not talk to the board. How can an audit be done without talking to the auditee, the people you are auditing? So those are the real crunchy issues that we are dealing with today. But let me go to global issues. When this participatory forest management was convoluted by many people, we had an opportunity to either go to Brazil, not as FKF, but at that time I was with Greenbelt Movement, and I'm glad that someone from Greenbelt Movement is there. And I did accompany the Professor Wangari Maathai to watch what was happening in Indonesia. And the reason she wanted to see participatory forest management in action is to get into her thinking that community can actually manage ecosystem, forests. She wasn't convinced that that was possible. And when we went there, we saw how the Department of Forestry and the community worked together, hand in hand, having joint management committees to manage a forest ecosystem. And we admired it. And so when we came back, she was in full support of the Kenya Forest Act of 2005, which created that concept of community participation. How have we fared? I think our number one reason for our faring very well was our ability to raise money. Because as you have heard, this forest was really gone. Even the forester had given up. He had been robbed, his shoes taken, his watch taken, and his wallet taken in one of the incidences. And so he had given up. He just stayed up there in the KFS headquarters and let other things happen. What we need to do going forward is to request Kenya Forest Service, instead of fighting us for whatever reason, engage us, just like we have been engaged together with you. I have not seen any audit that says that the Joint Forest Management Committee is invalid or that the existence of a CFA is questioned. Why is it that we are discussing things that were passed and have had 15 years of being run and have never had anywhere where people have said participatory forest management is not working? So those are the questions that we are asking. And we are asking the public, please come by our side. We have protected a forest ecosystem that had titles. That is no longer there because of our work. And I think I mentioned that a little earlier. And the other thing is that the community has voted for our work by the number of legs walking in that forest. To get between 50, 60, 70,000 people coming to an ecosystem, one small forest, 1,000 hectares, is a big accomplishment. And some of us would be expecting to be given an head of state commendation or even a Kenya Forest Service commendation for the work we have done. Instead, we are being besmirched as people who have somehow not done what they were supposed to do. What is it that we were supposed to do that was not done? That is the question I'm asking people. And whether people have an identity with the forest in the manner that I have, they know that Karura is safe and sound. It was unsafe 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So I appeal to all of you who are listening to us, give forest conservation a chance. Allow public involvement in conservation efforts. The conservation cannot be made, even by the best specialists and scientists, if the community adjacent to that particular resource wants to destroy it. And that is what we realized from the beginning, and we engaged the communities around us. The wealthy communities like Muthaiga helped us with knowing how to fundraise. The poorest community around us, like Huruma, helped us in giving us labor to do what we needed to do. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope we can continue to have a dialogue. I am willing and able to come to wherever you want me to be, and we can have this conversation. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I will give Julie and Nyaguthi just a question each. Kindly use 1 minute before I give you the last maybe 30 seconds or so that you can give us your parting shot. So I start with Julie. What role does transparency and inclusivity play in managing resources? Just briefly. The role.
Okay. I would say that transparency and inclusivity are at the heart of the model of how Karura Forest is run. Karura and FKF is managed through different partnerships, right? Like they've mentioned FKF, KFS, and even the community. And our education programs reflect that. KFET and FKF share these values, making sure that everybody, from young learners to university students, from the local communities to even international visitors, feel that they are part of Karura Forest's story. So by sharing openly how, for example, resources are used or how decisions are made at the board level and trickling down, by involving diverse voices, we are able to build that trust. And when people are able to build trust, then they will be committed to protecting the forest and the resources.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Right. Yeah, to you, Nyaguthi, what message would you give to young people about defending the Karura's legacy?
Thanks so much. First, even before I get there, but this is completely related, I think what's really important for us to pay attention to, and this has been said by, I think, every panelist here, you can judge them by their fruits. And I'll just repeat that. You can judge them by their fruits. People know that is not a statement that I have invented. And I think that's a really important thing to do. So as we're thinking very critically about the information that is being provided here and that you're getting from other sources, use rigorous judgment to be able to make sense of what it is you're hearing. And so in terms of what I would tell everybody here who's listening, but I think in particularly young folks, I will start with what Professor Maathai told us. She said, it is the people who must save the environment. It is the people who must make their leaders change. So we must stand up for what we believe in, and we cannot be intimidated. So given that she has said that, and we're putting our critical hats on, I'd like to say there are four things, the four main points that I'd like to share. One is connect the dots. There are no silos here at all whatsoever, right? When we talk about Karura, we must also think about the issue of the Abedes and what's happening there, right? Because Karura literally depends on the survival of the Abedes. When we think about Mount Kenya and the loss of glaciers, which will go extinct under any scenario by the year 2030, then we must start thinking about what happens to Sagana and Tana and Ewasa Nyiro and Garidare, these rivers that are the lifeblood of the communities that they pass through. Nothing is disconnected. The other thing that's not disconnected is the issue of environmental protection from good governance and the issue of peace. This is one of the things that the Nobel Committee recognized when they awarded Professor Maathai the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for the work she had done with the Green Belt movement. Let's be very clear. If we have weak governance, right? And an impunity and lack of respect for the rule of law, right? These systems, it is not a design flaw, folks. It is the system is working the way it was meant to. So when we keep harping on the issue of governance and accountability and transparency, I'm so glad it keeps coming up. There is a reason why we cannot achieve our environmental and sustainability goals if we do not have governance. And so what do we do about it? That's point number 3 for everybody who's here, but particularly for young folks. Use these resources. Absolutely. The action. What you do is use the parks, use the forests. I get distressed when I hear that people are giving up on some of these fights that we're having. So, for example, in Uhuru Park or Central Park, use them. When we use them, we become invested in them. The second thing is what we're doing here, what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks, for the last several months when it comes to Karura, is we engage and we try and get information and we demand answers. And one of the ways we do that is you're engaging in formulating policy, right? Participate in engaging on policy matters. Ask these questions of everybody, of Karura, friends of Karura Forest who represent us immediately around the Karura Forest, but also KFS and all the other entities that are representing us in our interest in these natural resources. And then lastly, the thing that we want to say is you've got to also shape the law, right? Get engaged. Professor Maathai, as you know, started out in academia, went into non-profit work, and then ended up in politics. I really am so thrilled that we think about politics, and we must get engaged so that when our young folks enter into political spaces and are representing our interests in whichever levels, they're educated and can have that impact. And then I think the last point, number 4, I wanted to say was do not tire and do not give up. Sometimes we say, oh my God, we're having this same conversation a generation later. let me tell you, we engage in these because we want and expect to win these battles to protect our spaces for both current and future generations. But success is not guaranteed, right? Success is never guaranteed. We engage because we must. So don't give up. We are those hummingbirds and individual hummingbirds, and jointly we are a hummingbird movement that continues to fight both now and in the future. Thanks so much. Really appreciate this conversation. Back to you.
Well, thank you so much. Allow me once again to give you at least 30 seconds. That is all of you. At least 30 seconds each to give us your parting shot, if any, so that we can end the call. I can see that time is up, but at least 30 seconds so that we can end this call. So I'll start with Francis Otieno.
All right, thank you. Now I'll echo what has been said, the phrase connect the dots. When something is working and it is unnecessarily interrupted, then there's a motive. And you and me both know that the motive here is in capital letter ILL, ill. So we have to engage because we must. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me the last moment of this show. I would like to say that as a country, we should remember that many people shed blood and they are gone. Many people denied themselves luxuries for securing and saving our forests or our green spaces, committed their efforts, created time, and agreed to change as the local communities agreed. They also agreed to support. Let's not rubbish the good work started by Professor Wangari Maathai and backed up by local and international communities for the success of our conservation efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you very much. Let me finish by saying the following. When the last tree dies, the last man dies too. This timeless African proverb reminds us that our lives are inseparably tied to the survival of the natural world, the natural nature around us. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Bless you all. Thank you, Chiron.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thanks again to everybody who's been listening in. I think I just want to finish by saying that one of the most powerful results of our education work is when we are able to impart knowledge, when we are able to bring children to the forest through our CBC outreach program, which is fully sponsored for children who are from areas that are under-resourced. When these children get back to school and write to us and tell us how much they enjoyed their day and how their visit helped them to understand certain concepts at school and how they look forward to coming back, this is something that we would love to see continue and strengthened. And it is my hope that this situation will be resolved so that we can continue to impact these learners. Thank you once again very much for this forum. Asante.
Asante. Thank you so much, Nyaguthi.
So many folks have been asking us, those of us who are so more directly involved in the current struggle, what can we do? And what I really urge you, first of all, is to continue being very engaged, as we've talked about today. And so we really appreciate you being here. Then I think the question that behooves all of us to consider is in what different ways can I engage? So think about the 3 T's that we talk about quite a bit at the Greenbelt. Think about giving your time, your talent, or your treasure, right? In terms of volunteers, that's what I am. That's what Professor Karanja has talked about. The board members at our two institutions, that's what we do. We are mission driven. We volunteer our time. We also are desperately in need of people who have talents in all different kinds of areas, whether you're a scientist, a finance person, or a techie. Join us in this struggle and get in touch with us to do that. And the last is your treasure. I think that speaks for itself. This work is not easy to do, and it's not free to do, and it's not cheap to do. So find ways to contribute, whether it's in Karura, whether it's in other public spaces, green public spaces within Nairobi and outside. We look forward to working with anybody and everybody who will work with us to meet our goals. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you especially to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of ArtSpace 254, I would really wish to appreciate all of you, the panelists, for the great insights that you've shared with us. But then allow me to appreciate in a special way all the editing that was on this call. We cannot take that for granted. And just to sum it up, remember, the survival of Karura is not only about trees, it is about justice, community, and our shared responsibility. So let us make sure that we are having an inclusive effort so that we can save Karura Forest, because all as we have.